like to psychoanalyze Greta Van Fleet a little bit. I followed the trajectory of their development, I saw them blow up, and I saw all the comparisons they got endlessly to Led Zeppelin. And admittedly, while a lot of people write off Greta Van Fleet as just a dogshit band that isn't worth anyone's time, I think that they are one of the most unique bands in terms of their situation. Imitation is the highest form of flattery, or so the saying goes, but how exactly do you approach it when you have a band that is so identical that they are near indistinguishable if you just happen to listen to a little bit of both artists? And before anyone says that it wasn't outright deliberate, the guitarist Jake literally said he went through a year of really intensely studying what Jimmy Page did to the point to where I knew how he thought. So it wasn't just a vocal thing, and even the lead vocalist has gone on record saying that Robert Plant was a big influence to him as well. Standard bearing in genres can be a pretty interesting topic to discuss because it depends on what genre you're talking about, but 9 times out of 10, if you take your influences into the future and put it in a logical way that's either unique or fresh or really does honor the memory of whatever bands inspired you to start your musical journey, that can be a really nice and wholesome way to pay homage to the past and hold the torch for the future. And in fact, in certain metal genres like black metal or death metal, it is even celebrated the more you sound like a past artist. But I cannot really think of many bands that just sound so point for point the same as another band. And it's not like Led Zeppelin were the most unique band at the time. Like, I'm not going to say that they were unoriginal. Led Zeppelin are one of my favorite bands. I love them. But I will say that there were a lot of other blues rock inspired hard rock bands of the time period. And that's not even getting into like some of the progressive and psychedelic bands. You had your Yes, Rush, Jethro Tull, Creedence. There comes a point where you can't deny the talent of someone, and I'm not going to do that in this video. I think Greta Van Fleet really have a lot of passion. They're really good at what they do. They're great at really identifying what made the 70s hard rock and blues rock and psychedelic scenes the amazingness that they were, and I give full credit where it's due that they emulate that style down to a T. They have every riff line, every vocalization, even the production down, but that's the point. It feels so homogenous and manufactured to something from the past without much creative spin. As someone who grew up on classic rock and classic metal, it is very hard to find a lot of things, if any, that Greta Van Fleet do to make it unique or fresh or exciting in any single way. And it just makes me sort of yearn for the past and want to listen to the other bands. And in no way does that mean that they are bad at what they do or untalented, but that's why I find them so interesting and fascinating to dissect, because there aren't really any other bands that do this. There are plenty of copycat bands who try their best to sound like something, but successfully, Greta Van Fleet have done that. And while there are many great things about what Greta Van Fleet do, because they're exposing a brand new generation of kids to a style of music that they maybe aren't that familiar with otherwise, with a new energy and being very youthful, it's no longer just like sweating to the oldies because the oldies are in the present thanks to Greta Van Fleet. And there are plenty of bands that try to worship the past, but it does make me sad that Greta Van Fleet didn't build upon that by doing something new with the style, because you could have still taken those influences and kept that hallmark without literally just sounding like a copy of a band that you're already trying to fill the shoes of, unintentionally or intentionally, that are phenomenal. So I find it near impossible to say that Greta Van Fleet aren't insanely talented. They are impeccable. But there are very few scenes in the last couple hundred years that are as flawless, with dozens upon dozens of classic, incredible records, such as the classic blues rock and hard rock scenes. So why am I going to go out of my way to listen to a more polished, manufactured, commercially viable, edgeless version of the same music that came out all those years back that I could easily go listen to? And it's no knock to Greta Van Fleet or what they are doing, but it disappoints me that with the platform that they have and how they are exposing a ton of people to this type of music that wouldn't have heard it otherwise, they're not doing anything to try to push the envelope at all. And I'm not saying they have to be experimental, because notoriously all those bands that I said back then, like the Rush, Yes, Jethro Tull, Creedence, they weren't the most technical. They were pretty simplistic, and most of their most famous songs are pretty simplistic. For every Led Zeppelin song that hits as hard as Stairway to Heaven, there are plenty of Led Zeppelin songs that are just about grooving riffs and blues rock influences, and you could say however much you want that all of the white bands stole from black artists and black rock and roll artists and blues artists. By today's standards, those bands weren't necessarily boundary pushing, and some of them could blend in with each other a little bit even. So it's less about being experimental or being out there, and more so taking a winning formula that you clearly have down to a perfect T and not doing anything with that. It's one of those things where once you have heard one Greta Van Fleet song, I promise you, you have heard their entire discography. There's absolutely no sort of variation. It feels very regurgitated. They're clearly pandering to a formula, to a pattern, and while there are going to be people who eat it up and say, the old days are back, it's like, I feel like Greta definitely could do more, and I'm always looking at them as a band that's like, you have so much unbridled talent, and you have so much of a great platform set before you as pretty much the leading modern band of hard rock and classic blues rock, and you're not necessarily doing anything to have that longevity in the genre or inspire other bands, because what band is going to want to copy Greta Van Fleet? You're just copying Greta Van Fleet, copying Led Zeppelin at that point. And as much as they can say it is subconscious, anyone who listens to a single Led Zeppelin song and then listen to a Greta Van Fleet song, hear the riff lines, the bass lines, the solos, the vocalizations, every inflection, every single riff line, the weird quirky embellishments, the way the solos are written, the way the lavish production has this air of vintageness to it. They are very much trying to do that. They are the final boss for a worship band. So my issue with Greta Van Fleet isn't that they don't have talent or that I have a bone to pick. They seem like really fucking cool dudes. I've watched some interviews with them. I've watched some background about the band. They clearly care about their craft and what they do. They're very precise and talented, and I don't think anyone can deny that from a guitar standpoint, from a vocal standpoint, they're very good at what they do. But what they do is emulate the past to such a degree that they are the most uniquely ununique band. Not to mention, Robert Plant literally said they are Led Zeppelin 1 and described Josh as a beautiful little singer. So Led Zeppelin themselves have noticed this. And obviously they have respect. They're like the new kids on the block, and with rock and metal you always kind of have mutual respect for the old people that came before you as well as the young people that are taking it in, you know, the new era. But it's just difficult for me to ever go out of my way to listen to a Greta Van Fleet song, let alone an album, when there are dozens of other albums that pretty much do what they do, but in a better way. And like I said, that's not to say that they do it badly. I want to make that clear. What are your guys' opinions of Greta Van Fleet? You can let me know down in the comment section below. I can't wait to hear it. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.